Kemi, a 31-year-old widow, had always carried the weight of her world silently. Living in a small village, where everyone knew everyone else's business, she raised her 13-year-old daughter, Nana, with love but also a heart full of sorrow. The loss of her husband had left a void in her life, and though she was strong for Nana, loneliness often crept in. Their home was a simple one, close to the farm that sustained them. Every day Kemi worked the fields, while Nana helped her with household chores. Life was hard, but they managed. The villagers often whispered about Kemi, some pitying her for her loss, others gossiping about how a woman like her could live without a man for so long. One day, a handsome young man named Chike, 20 years old, arrived in the village. He was known for his strength and good looks, and many young women in the village eyed him with interest. But it was Kemi who caught his attention. There was something about her grace, even in her sorrow, that made Chike admire her deeply. Chike began visiting Kemi often, helping her with the farm work. He was always kind to Nana, treating her like a younger sister, and soon, the three of them formed a close bond. Chike brought laughter into their home. He would play with Nana, take her to the farm, and teach her little tricks to make the work easier. Nana, who had always been quiet, found a friend in Chike. She trusted him, and they spent more time together as Kemi began to relax, believing her daughter was in safe hands. But soon, the villagers began to whisper again. Chuka's frequent visits didn't go unnoticed. "Isn't he too young for Kemi?" they said. "What does he see in a widow?" they murmured. Tayo, a 15-year-old boy and Nana's close friend, noticed the changes in her behavior too. He asked her if something was wrong, but Nana avoided his questions, brushing off his concerns. But Kemi paid no mind to the gossip. She had found happiness again. Chuka's presence brought life back to her, and she found herself falling in love with him. However, something strange began to happen. Nana, who had always been energetic, started to act differently. She seemed withdrawn, tired and distant. Tayo, a 15-year-old boy and Nana's close friend, noticed the changes in her behavior too. He asked her if something was wrong, but Nana avoided his questions, brushing off his concerns. As weeks passed, Nana's condition worsened. She became ill, often nauseous in the mornings. And Kemi grew worried. When Nana fainted one morning while working on the farm, Kemi rushed her to the village healer. The diagnosis shocked everyone: Nana was pregnant. The news spread like wildfire through the village, and the once quiet whispers turned into loud accusations. Who could be the father? People asked. Some looked at Tayo, assuming that because of his close friendship with Nana, he must be responsible. Others cast their suspicious eyes on Chike, the young man who had grown so close to the family. Kemi's heart was torn. She wanted to protect her daughter, but she needed answers. Nana, however, refused to speak, leaving everyone in the dark. The mystery of Nana's pregnancy loomed over the family, casting a shadow on their once happy life. But as more people questioned, the truth would have to come out eventually. The revelation of Nana's pregnancy had shattered the fragile peace Kemi had built around her small family. She felt the weight of the village's eyes on her, their whispers growing louder each day. The stares burned into her as she walked through the market, and even at the farm, it seemed as though the crops themselves could sense her unease. Kemi couldn't believe what was happening. Her sweet, innocent daughter was pregnant, and she had no idea who the father was. Every time she tried to talk to Nana, the girl would turn away, tears welling up in her eyes but lips sealed tight. The silence from her daughter hurt more than the villagers' rumors. One afternoon, Kemi confronted Tayo. He was sitting under the old mango tree near the school, staring at the ground. She approached him, her steps heavy with worry. "Tayo, I need to know the truth," Kemi said, her voice breaking. "Are you the one responsible for Nana's pregnancy?" Tayo's eyes widened in shock. "Auntie Kemi, I swear I could never hurt Nana like that." His voice trembled as he spoke. "I've known her my whole life. She's like my sister." Kemi could see the honesty in his eyes, but she was desperate for answers. "Then why has she been acting so distant? She won't talk to me, and I can't understand what happened." Tayo shook his head. "She hasn't told me anything either. She's been avoiding everyone, even me. I've tried to help, but she just won't open up." He paused for a moment, hesitating. "Auntie Kemi, do you think it might be Chike?" The name hit Kemi like a stone. Chike? Could it be possible? He had always been so kind to both of them, always so gentle with Nana. He had brought laughter and love back into their home. But now, doubt began to creep into her mind. Was his kindness a mask for something more sinister? That evening, as Chike came to visit, Kemi couldn't help but watch him closely. He was his usual self, charming, attentive, and full of smiles. But now, everything he did seemed to carry a hidden meaning. When he greeted Nana, Kemi noticed the brief exchange of glances between them. Was there something they were hiding? Kemi waited until Nana had gone to bed before confronting Chike. Her heart pounded as she gathered the courage to speak. "Chike, I need to ask you something," she began, her voice unsteady. Chike looked up from the meal he was eating, sensing the tension in her tone. "What's wrong, Kemi?" Kemi took a deep breath. "It's about Nana. She's pregnant." Chuka's eyes widened in genuine shock. "Pregnant? But how? I didn't—" He stopped himself, his expression darkening. "Kemi, do you think I had something to do with this?" "I don't know what to think anymore," Kemi said, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. "You've been so close to us, so kind to Nana. But now, I'm wondering if there's something more going on that I don't know about." Chike stood up, shaking his head. "Kemi, I would never do that to Nana. She's like family to me. I love you both, but I'm not the father of her child. You have to believe me." Kemi wanted to believe him, she really did. But the uncertainty gnawed at her, and the weight of the situation pressed down on her chest. She didn't know who to trust anymore, and with Nana refusing to speak, the truth seemed further out of reach. That night, as Kemi lay in bed, her thoughts spiraled. She thought about the day she first met Chike, how he had brought light back into her life, how he had cared for Nana. Could it all have been a lie? Meanwhile, in the quiet of the night, Nana lay awake in her room, clutching a pillow to her chest. She could hear her mother crying softly in the next room, and guilt twisted inside her. She had never meant for this to happen, but now there was no way out. The secret she carried was too heavy for her young heart, and every day it became harder to face the world. The next morning, Kemi decided to visit the village elder. An old woman named Mama Ifeoma, known for her wisdom and ability to see through the fog of confusion. Perhaps she could help Kemi find clarity. As Kemi approached Mama Ifeoma's hut, she could feel the weight of the villagers' stares following her. She knew they were talking about her, judging her for what had happened to Nana. But she kept walking, determined to find some answers. Mama Ifeoma welcomed her in, offering a seat by the fire. "Kemi, I've heard about Nana's situation," she said softly. "The whole village has." Kemi nodded, tears welling up in her eyes again. Mama, I don't know what to do. Nana won't talk to me. I don't know who the father is. I'm so lost. The old woman looked at her with kind but serious eyes. Sometimes, the truth hides in the heart of those we least expect. You must be patient, Kemi. The truth will come out, but it may not be what you want to hear. Kemi sat there in silence, wondering what Mama Ifeoma's words truly meant. As she left the elder's hut, she felt a deep unease settle over her. There was still no clarity, only more questions, and with each passing day, the situation grew more complicated. The tension in Kemi's household was growing unbearable. Days turned into weeks, and still, Nana remained tight-lipped about the identity of the father of her child. Kemi was torn between the love she had for her daughter, the confusion of Chuka's role in their lives, and the mounting pressure from the village. Each day she woke with a heavier heart, and each night sleep felt further away. Chuka's visits had become less frequent. Though he still professed his innocence, Kemi couldn't ignore the growing unease between them. Every time he smiled or laughed, Kemi couldn't shake the feeling that something darker lay beneath. Had he betrayed her trust? Was her love for him blinding her to the truth? One evening, after an exhausting day at the farm, Kemi decided it was time to have another serious conversation with Nana. The air in the house was thick with unspoken words as Kemi sat down beside her daughter's bed. Nana, looking pale and fragile, kept her gaze down, unable to meet her mother's eyes. Nana, my love, Kemi began softly. I need you to talk to me. This silence is breaking me. I need to know who is responsible for your pregnancy. You don't have to carry this burden alone. Nana's eyes welled up with tears, but she remained silent. Is it Tayo? Kemi asked gently. He's always been close to you. Did something happen between the two of you? Nana shook her head vigorously, tears now streaming down her face. No, Mama, it's not Tayo, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Kemi sighed in relief for a brief moment, but then felt the dread return. Is it Chuka? She asked hesitantly, her heart pounding in her chest. Did Chuka do something to you, Nana? You can tell me. Please. Nana's reaction was immediate. She broke down into uncontrollable sobs, burying her face in her hands. Kemi's heart sank as she watched her daughter crumble under the weight of her emotions. She moved closer, wrapping her arms around Nana, trying to comfort her, though her own fear was rising. Nana, please, I need to know, Kemi whispered, her voice trembling. After a long moment, Nana finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Mama, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to happen. Kemi's breath caught in her throat. Her worst fear was coming true. Nana continued, her words filled with guilt and shame. It's Chuka, Mama. He's the father. Kemi felt the world around her collapse. Her entire body froze as the words echoed in her mind. Chuka, the man she had grown to love, the man who had brought joy back into her life, had betrayed her in the worst possible way. How? How could this happen? Kemi's voice trembled with anger and pain. He was like a father to you, Nana. Why didn't you tell me? Nana sobbed harder, her body shaking. I was scared, Mama. I didn't know what to do. Chuka told me to keep it a secret, that no one would understand. Kemi's heart shattered into pieces. She couldn't believe that Chuka, the man she had trusted with her family, had done this. How could he have taken advantage of Nana's innocence? How could she have been so blind? In that moment, rage boiled inside Kemi. She stood up abruptly, her mind clouded with fury. Where is he? She demanded. Where is Chike? Nana looked up, terrified by the sudden change in her mother's demeanor. Mama, please don't do anything. I'm scared. But Kemi was beyond reason. She stormed out of the house, her feet moving swiftly toward Chuka's small home on the other side of the village. Her vision was blurred with tears, but all she could think about was confronting him, demanding answers for the pain he had caused her and her daughter. When Kemi arrived at Chuka's house, she didn't bother knocking. She pushed the door open and found him sitting at the table, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing inside her. Kemi, Chike said with a smile, but the smile faded quickly when he saw the look on her face. What's wrong? How could you? Kemi's voice was low but filled with venom. How could you betray me like this? You took advantage of Nana, my daughter Chike. Chuka's face went pale, and he stood up slowly, backing away from her. Kemi, wait, I can explain. Explain? Kemi shouted, her voice cracking with emotion. What is there to explain? You lied to me. You lied to all of us. How could you do this to a child? Chike shook his head, trying to find the right words. It wasn't like that, Kemi. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Nana's reaction was immediate. She broke down into uncontrollable sobs, burying her face in her hands. Kemi's heart sank as she watched her daughter crumble under the weight of her emotions. She moved closer, wrapping her arms around Nana, trying to comfort her, though her own fear was rising. You didn't mean for this to happen, Kemi repeated, her anger boiling over. Nana is pregnant because of you. Do you know what this will do to her? To us? Chuka's guilt was clear on his face, but he remained silent. There was nothing he could say to undo the damage he had caused. Kemi felt her heart shatter all over again. The man she thought she loved had not only betrayed her, but also hurt the one person she cherished most in the world, her daughter. I trusted you, Kemi whispered, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. I trusted you with my heart, with my family, and you destroyed everything. Chike stood there, unable to meet her eyes, his shame and guilt hanging heavy in the air. I never want to see you again, Kemi said, her voice breaking. You're dead to me. Without another word, Kemi turned and walked out of the house, her steps heavy with pain and anger. As she made her way back home, she realized that this was only the beginning of a much longer, much more difficult journey. The truth was out, but the wounds would take much longer to heal. The news of Chuka's betrayal spread through the village like wildfire. It was as if the entire village was holding its breath, waiting to see what Kemi would do next. The whispers had become louder, and the weight of scandal hung heavily over Kemi's household. For days Kemi barely left the house. She couldn't face the villagers, couldn't face their pity or judgment. The betrayal felt too raw, too fresh. Each time she looked at Nana, her heart broke a little more. Her daughter was too young to be carrying the weight of such a burden, and yet it was now their reality. Nana too had withdrawn into herself, spending most of her time in her room. She no longer smiled, no longer played outside with her friends. Taya would come by often, trying to coax her out of the house, but Nana always refused. The once vibrant girl was now a shell of herself. Kemi, overwhelmed by guilt, anger, and sadness, didn't know how to move forward. She had always been strong, but this betrayal had shaken her to the core. She couldn't help but feel that she had failed as a mother, failed to protect Nana from the world, and from the man who had hurt her. One afternoon, as Kemi sat outside, staring blankly at the fields, she heard footsteps approaching. It was Mama Ifeoma, the village elder, walking slowly toward her. Kemi, Mama Ifeoma greeted softly, sitting down beside her. You've been through much in these past weeks. Kemi nodded, her throat tight with emotion. I don't know what to do, Mama. Everything feels so broken. Nana. Chike. It's all too much. Mama Ifeoma placed a comforting hand on Kemi's shoulder. Sometimes, when everything falls apart, we are given the chance to rebuild. But first, you must find the strength within yourself. You cannot allow this pain to consume you. But how? Kemi asked, her voice trembling. How can I move forward when I've lost everything I cared about? Mama Ifeoma looked at her with wise eyes. You have not lost everything, Kemi. You still have Nana, and she needs you now more than ever. The bond between mother and daughter is strong, but it has been strained. You must find a way to heal it, for her sake and for yours. Kemi wiped away her tears. She knew Mama Ifeoma was right, but it didn't make the path ahead any easier. Later that evening, Kemi found Nana sitting quietly by the window, staring at the darkening sky. The sadness in her daughter's eyes pierced Kemi's heart. Nana, Kemi said softly, sitting beside her. I know things have been hard. I know you've been hurting, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. No matter what happens, you are still my daughter, and I love you. Nana looked at her mother, her eyes red from crying. Mama, I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was just so scared. Kemi pulled her daughter into a tight embrace. I know, my love. I know you were scared. And I should have been there for you. I should have protected you. Nana clung to her mother, sobbing into her chest. What are we going to do, Mama? What will happen to the baby? What will happen to us? Kemi stroked her daughter's hair, trying to calm her. We'll get through this, Nana. I don't have all the answers yet, but we'll figure it out together. We're going to be okay. As the two sat there, holding each other, Kemi realized that this moment was the first step toward healing. She couldn't undo the past, but she could be there for her daughter now, and that was what mattered most. The next morning, Kemi knew what she had to do. She couldn't stay in hiding forever. The village would always talk, but she refused to let their words define her or Nana's future. She went to see Chike one last time. The sight of him filled her with a mixture of anger and sadness. He had betrayed her trust, but she needed closure, for herself and for Nana. When Chike opened the door, his face was pale, and he looked like a man who had been carrying the weight of his guilt. Kemi, he began, but she cut him off. I didn't come here for apologies, Chike, Kemi said, her voice firm. I came to tell you that you will take responsibility for this child, whether you like it or not. Chuka's shoulders slumped, and he nodded. I will, I promise. I never meant for any of this to happen, Kemi. I was foolish, and I let my emotions get the better of me. Chuka's shoulders slumped, and he nodded. I will. I promise. I never meant for any of this to happen, Kemi. I was foolish, and I let my emotions get the better of me. Kemi looked at him, her heart heavy with the memories of what they once had. You hurt me, Chike. You hurt Nana. And for that, I don't think I can ever forgive you. But this isn't just about us anymore. Nana is carrying your child, and that child deserves a future, no matter what happens between us. Chike nodded again, his guilt clear. I'll do whatever I can to help, I swear. With those words, Kemi turned and left. She didn't look back. Back home, Kemi sat with Nana and told her about the conversation. Chike will help take care of the baby, Nana. But we will be the ones to decide how we move forward. This is our life, and we won't let anyone else control it. Nana, though still overwhelmed, felt a sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope, a sense that maybe things could get better. As mother and daughter sat together, the bond between them began to mend, slowly but surely. There would be more challenges ahead, but Kemi was determined to face them with her daughter by her side. The days that followed were quieter, though the tension in the village remained palpable. Kemi and Nana had begun to find a fragile peace between them, but the future was still uncertain. With Nana's pregnancy progressing, Kemi knew that the months ahead would be challenging. Kemi spent more time with Nana, helping her adjust to the changes in her body and preparing her for motherhood. It wasn't easy. Nana was still just a child herself, and the weight of becoming a mother so young was overwhelming. Kemi tried to reassure her, but there were moments when she too felt uncertain about what was to come. One afternoon, as Kemi was preparing food in the kitchen, Tayo came by the house. He had been one of the few people who hadn't turned his back on Nana after the scandal broke. His visits brought a bit of normalcy into Nana's life, and she looked forward to seeing her old friend. Tayo greeted Kemi politely before heading out to the back garden, where Nana was sitting under a tree, resting. "Hey Nana," he said quietly, sitting down beside her. Nana smiled weakly, glad to have his company. "Hi Tayo." For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, both of them staring out at the fields. Then, after a while, Tayo turned to her, his face serious. "Nana, I've been thinking," he began. "I know you've been through a lot, and things have been really hard. But I want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what. I don't care what people say in the village. You're still my friend." Nana felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, Tayo. It means a lot to hear that." She hesitated for a moment, then added, "I don't know what's going to happen. Everything feels so uncertain." Tayo nodded. "I know. But you don't have to go through it alone. You have your mom, and you have me. We'll figure it out together." Nana smiled through her tears, grateful for his friendship. Tayo's words gave her some comfort, but the reality of her situation still weighed heavily on her. She was about to become a mother, something she never imagined at such a young age. Inside the house, Kemi overheard part of their conversation. Her heart ached for Nana, but she knew they had to move forward. She had to be strong for her daughter, even if the road ahead was difficult. Later that evening, as they sat down for dinner, Kemi broached a topic she had been thinking about for days. "Nana," she began, carefully choosing her words. "I've been thinking, maybe we need to leave the village." Nana looked up, surprised. "Leave? But where would we go?" Kemi sighed, pushing her food around on her plate. "I don't know yet. But staying here, with all the gossip and judgment, it's not healthy for you or the baby. People here will never let us forget what happened." Nana bit her lip thinking, "But this is our home." "I know," Kemi said softly. "But sometimes, starting fresh is the only way to heal. We need a place where we're not constantly reminded of the past. Where you can raise your child without everyone's eyes on you." Nana was quiet for a moment, considering her mother's words. The thought of leaving everything she had ever known was scary, but there was also a part of her that longed for a fresh start, away from the shame and whispers. "Maybe you're right," Nana finally said. "Maybe it's time for us to go." Kemi nodded, relieved that Nana understood. It wasn't going to be easy, but she knew that leaving the village might be the best chance they had for a new life. In the days that followed, Kemi began making plans. She spoke to Mama Ifeoma, who had connections in a neighboring town, and found a small house they could move into. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start over. Word of their impending departure spread quickly through the village. Some people were relieved, thinking it would be easier without the scandal in their midst. Others, however, felt sympathy for Kemi and Nana, knowing how hard their journey had been. One person who struggled with the news was Chike. He had kept his distance since the confrontation with Kemi, but hearing that they were leaving made him realize the gravity of his actions. He couldn't just let them disappear from his life without saying something. The evening before they were set to leave, Chike came to Kemi's house. Kemi answered the door, her expression unreadable. "Kemi, please," Chike began, his voice low. "I know I've done terrible things, but I need to talk to you. I can't let you leave like this." Kemi stepped aside, letting him in, but she didn't invite him to sit down. She crossed her arms, waiting for him to speak. I need to tell you that I'm sorry," Chike said, his eyes filled with remorse. "I know I hurt you and Nana, and I'll carry that guilt with me forever. But I want to be part of my child's life. I don't want to run away from my responsibilities." Kemi stared at him for a long moment, considering his words. She had been prepared to raise Nana's child on her own, but she knew that Chike had a right to be part of the child's life, whether she liked it or not. "This isn't about you, Chike," Kemi said quietly. "This is about what's best for Nana and the baby. We're leaving because they deserve a fresh start, away from all this. But if you're serious about being involved, you can come and visit. You can support the child, but don't think for a moment that we'll forget what you've done." Chike nodded, his expression somber. "I understand. Thank you, Kemi." With that, Chike left, knowing that his relationship with Kemi was beyond repair but that he still had a chance to be part of his child's life. The next morning, Kemi and Nana packed up their belongings and said their goodbyes to the village. Tayo came to see them off, hugging Nana tightly. "Take care of yourself," he said softly. "And don't forget, you can always come back." Nana smiled through her tears. "I'll never forget, Tayo. Thank you for everything." As they walked down the dusty road, away from the village that had been their home for so many years, Kemi felt a strange mix of emotions, sadness, relief, and a glimmer of hope for the future. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face it together. Kemi and Nana arrived in the neighboring town as the sun dipped below the horizon. The town was quieter than their village, and though it felt strange at first, there was a sense of peace in the air, something they had been craving for so long. The small house they had moved into was humble, but it was theirs, a place to start fresh. Days passed, and Kemi focused on building a new life for her and Nana. She found work at a local market, selling fresh produce, while Nana helped around the house, her pregnancy becoming more noticeable each day. The whispers and judgment that had followed them in their village were absent here, and for the first time in a long time, Nana felt free from the weight of everyone's expectations. But despite the quiet peace they had found, the reality of Nana's pregnancy was never far from Kemi's mind. They both knew the journey ahead would be difficult, especially as Nana prepared for the birth of her child. "Mama, I've been thinking a lot," Nana said, resting a hand on her belly. "This baby. I'm scared, but I also feel like it's a new beginning. I made a mistake, but I want to be the best mother I can be." Kemi smiled, pride welling up inside her. "You're strong, Nana. Stronger than you know. And you'll be a wonderful mother, just like you've always been a wonderful daughter." I need to tell you that I'm sorry," Chike said, his eyes filled with remorse. I know I hurt you and Nana, and I'll carry that guilt with me forever. But I want to be part of my child's life. I don't want to run away from my responsibilities. Kemi stared at him for a long moment, considering his words. She had been prepared to raise Nana's child on her own, but she knew that Chike had a right to be part of the child's life, whether she liked it or not. This isn't about you, Chike, Kemi said quietly. This is about what's best for Nana and the baby. We're leaving because they deserve a fresh start, away from all this. But if you're serious about being involved, you can come and visit. You can support the child, but don't think for a moment that we'll forget what you've done. Chike nodded, his expression somber. I understand. Thank you, Kemi. With that, Chike left, knowing that his relationship with Kemi was beyond repair but that he still had a chance to be part of his child's life. The next morning, Kemi and Nana packed up their belongings and said their goodbyes to the village. Tayo came to see them off, hugging Nana tightly. Take care of yourself, he said softly. And don't forget, you can always come back. Nana smiled through her tears. I'll never forget, Tayo. Thank you for everything. As they walked down the dusty road, away from the village that had been their home for so many years, Kemi felt a strange mix of emotions, sadness, relief, and a glimmer of hope for the future. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face it together. Kemi and Nana arrived in the neighboring town as the sun dipped below the horizon. The town was quieter than their village, and though it felt strange at first, there was a sense of peace in the air, something they had been craving for so long. The small house they had moved into was humble, but it was theirs, a place to start fresh. Days passed, and Kemi focused on building a new life for her and Nana. She found work at a local market, selling fresh produce, while Nana helped around the house, her pregnancy becoming more noticeable each day. The whispers and judgment that had followed them in their village were absent here, and for the first time in a long time, Nana felt free from the weight of everyone's expectations. But despite the quiet peace they had found, the reality of Nana's pregnancy was never far from Kemi's mind. They both knew the journey ahead would be difficult, especially as Nana prepared for the birth of her child. Mama, I've been thinking a lot, Nana said, resting a hand on her belly. This baby. I'm scared, but I also feel like it's a new beginning. I made a mistake, but I want to be the best mother I can be. Kemi smiled, pride welling up inside her. You're strong, Nana. Stronger than you know. And you'll be a wonderful mother, just like you've always been a wonderful daughter. They sat in silence for a moment, soaking in the beauty of the evening. But just as they had begun to settle into their new life, Chike arrived in town. He had come to see his child, as he had promised. Though his presence was met with tension, Kemi allowed him to visit under strict conditions. She knew that despite everything that had happened, Chike had a right to be part of his child's life, and she wanted to do what was best for the baby. Chike showed genuine remorse, helping where he could and doing his best to support Nana, even if the relationship between him and Kemi could never be the same. Slowly, they found a way to make it work. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Months later, Nana gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The moment Nana held her child for the first time, tears of joy streamed down her face. She looked up at Kemi, her heart filled with a mix of love, relief, and hope for the future. Mama, she whispered. This is my new beginning. Kemi nodded, her eyes filled with pride and love for her daughter. Yes, Nana. And no matter what happens, you'll always have me by your side. As Nana cradled her baby, Kemi felt a sense of peace. They had been through so much, heartbreak, betrayal, and uncertainty, but in that moment, everything felt right. The journey ahead would still be challenging, but they had each other, and that was all they needed. Moral lesson. The story of the widow's secret teaches us that while life can bring pain and betrayal, it is through love, forgiveness, and courage that we find healing. Mistakes are part of life, but they do not define us. What matters most is how we move forward and face the challenges ahead. By embracing responsibility and seeking new beginnings, we can overcome even the darkest moments. Thank you for watching The Widow's Secret. If you enjoyed this story and learned something valuable, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Camtoon for more heartwarming and inspiring stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And remember, no matter what challenges you face, there's always a new beginning waiting for you. See you in the next story.